In previous lesson, we learned about functions to manipulate the data. But in this lesson, we see different functions called aggregate functions to summarize the data. So what exactly the aggregation means? Most of the times we get a questions like how many records in a table and what is the price of all books and the costliest book in the books table, cheapest book in a book table. So all these questions can be answered by aggregate functions. So it is often necessary to summarize the data without actually retrieving all records from a table. And SQL provides special functions called aggregate functions to handle this kind of scenarios. So let's see all these functions with the books table. Select star from books. So these are the records in books table, and we have a column called MRP, and I would like to know the sum of this MRP column. That means sum of all books from B01 to B20. So to make that, I'll remove star and I'll select only MRP. If I run this, then I'll get the MRP column. That's fine. And I would like to summarize this data. So the aggregate function is what I'm using is sum. So I get only one row which summarizes all the records for the MRP. Similarly, we can get max of MRP, min of MRP, average of MRP. So all these functions are aggregate functions. So this is the sum of all books, this is the costliest book value, and this is the cheapest book value, and on average my book value around $190. So this kind of questions we can answer easily with aggregate functions. Okay, so not only this sum, max, min, average functions are called aggregate. There is another special function called count. I'm using count, sorry. If I use count star, then it will give the record count in a table. So for just a moment, let me remove this and put select star. I have 20 records. If I put count star on any particular column, for example, if I put on category, then what it will do, it will ignore the null values. So I have one null value here. If I put on author, then it will ignore two null values. Let's see that. Count of author. So it ignored null values, two null values, and I got a result of 18. So like that, instead of author, I can put select count star to get the count of table. Okay, this is good. But I would like to put a condition from books where category is equal to PDF 5, right? Like that, if I want printed category 5 count, so I can put a where condition to get the count of all printed books, all PDFs, all ebooks, something like that. But I don't want to put the category condition every time and run the statement again and again to get the count. I want something else to make it simple. So this is where groups come into play. Grouping lets you divide data into logical sets so that you can perform aggregate calculations on each group. So to solve that, let me remove the where condition which we kept on category, right? So let's keep this category in the select retrieved column list and remove the where class. If I run this, I'll get error because when you are retrieving any column along with the aggregate function count star, you should mention this column in group by class. So that is mandatory. So group by category. If I run this statement, it will give printed, ebook, PDF. These are the three groups what we have in category. Again, we have one blank value and one null value. So DBMS will consider null as a separate group and blank as a separate group. So we have 5 printed books, 8 ebooks, 5 PDFs. Okay. So when you use this group by class, it instructs DBMS to group the data and then perform the aggregation at each group level what we are mentioning here. So group by class can contain more than one retrieved field here. So that means more than one field. For example, if I add author, if I run like this, it will give error because author also should be in the group by. So I got author and then category, and based on this I got the result, like this author having one printed book, this author having one ebook. Like that, if you see here, A04 author have 2 printed books, A09 have 2 ebooks, A02 have 2 printed books. Like that, you can add as many columns as you want in the select along with the aggregate function. But whatever the fields you are adding here, you should add them in the group by. And this order is not should not be same as this. May not be same as the select list. So you can change. So it will work. So I got again 2, 2, 2, 2. So please remember, whatever the columns you are mentioning along with the aggregate column, those columns should be part of group by. And our order may or may not be same as the selected column sequence. Like the order by statement what we see in an earlier statement, if I say order by 2, 1, it will not allow. So group by should contain the actual column name. Similarly, if I maintain aliasing for this as auth, then if I use here alias name, it will not allow. It will give the error again, invalid column name AUTH. So aliasing should not be there. You can use aliasing, but in the group by you should use the actual column. So we got the alias name here, but in the group by actual column name should be there. So in the result we have count of 2 for 3 rows. If I want to see only the count more than 1, then what we know is to use the where condition, right? So for example, if I want to use where count star greater than 1, if I run this, I will get error because aggregate function not allowed in where class. So how can I filter this data then? So this is where we get a new class called having. So let me comment this. So to filter that, we'll use a new class called having count star greater than 1. If I run this, it will give only those groups which are having more than 1. So I got 3 groups. Basically, where filters specific rows, not groups. In fact, where class don't know what groups are. So if you want to filter at group level, then you have to use having class. Where filters before data is grouped and having filters after grouping. You may ask one question. We ever need to use both having and where class in one statement? Answer is yes. That's why I kept the where class in comments to reuse it. So in the result, right now we have printed ebook and printed. So if I want more than one group, more than one count of groups along with only printed category. So where category is equal to printed. So I got only printed which are having more than 2 in groups. So we have a group by after the where class, and let's see the result here once again. So we have A4 printed 2 and A2 printed 2, but A4 and A2 are not in ascending order. So to make this ascending order, if you recall from earlier lesson OrderBy, we use OrderBy class to sort the data. OrderBy author. And remember, OrderBy should be the last class in your select statement. And so if we consolidate our select statement clauses and their sequence, select will come first, and then from which table you are pulling the data, and after from where should come. If required, where should be there. If not, then you can ignore the where. And group by always should be after where class. And as soon as group by is finished, you need to put the having condition to filter on grouping data. And always in any case, OrderBy is the last statement. Select first, from, where, group by, having, OrderBy. This is the standard select statement we ever use, and few of them are optional, like where, group by, having, OrderBy. These are optional. Based on your requirement, you need to use. Otherwise, those are not required. But if you want to use everything, then this is the sequence you should follow. As of now, we used all our select statement on single tables. And from next lesson onwards, we will retrieve data from more than one table. Before closing this, if you ever, I would like to show you one option. If you ever wonder, like you wrote so many lines of code, but it's not looking good, then you can use an option called format. If you right click on your SQL screen, then there is an option called format. If you click this format, then it will make the format as per the system definition. So at least it will make sense, like select columns, then from, then where, then group by, and in the group by there is a having condition, and order by. So based on the length of your code and keywords what you are using, system will make the proper formatting.